So, from our conversations so far, and like also your blog on the Fortunate blog, you seem like a man of principle. And one of the inspiring things I found about Xoxzo was the number of open source grant it does and its involvement in the Python conference community. So, when you're running a business, how do you balance philanthropy with the need to make profit as a business?
Well, there's no hard and fast rule for us, at least. We need to make a profit first before we can do something else out of it, right? At the end of each year, I look at the accounts and then, okay, this is how much profit that we make, and this is how much grants I think we can afford to. For me, at least, the amount is not the issue. Even if you make $100 profit, you can make a grant of $10. That's still okay. Maybe it's a bit too much if it's 10% of profit, depending on the business and depending actually what you want to do going forward. For example, if you want to go for IPO, for example, then you need to have like a certain amount of profit every single year for 3 or 4 years before you can be accepted into the Mazars or Tokyo board, for example, right? So obviously it depends on what you want to do, but the amount is not the issue. I believe though it's giving back and allowing the engineers, to actually build stuff using open source to decide what they want to give, how much they want to give to where. It creates a sense of we belong to this. It's not someone that we don't know because we don't see their face, and it tends to make us take things for granted, which I think is a big problem for businesses and the relationship between them and open source. You cannot take things for granted. There are actually real people who actually build real good stuff out there out of their minds and tears and hearts, and then we cannot take that for granted. We need to at least acknowledge that and then say, okay, I'm sorry, we can't give you a lot. There's no other way of acknowledging it, at least for our part, except for like donating. So that's an important point. I'm sorry, I'm not really answering your question. There's no really how to decide how much to give, but that is our, how do you say, principle or philosophy or whatever you want to call it.
So I also noticed that you are a founding member of the PyCon JP version and like also for Python Conference Malaysia. You're also a contributing member for the PSF, Python Software Foundation. So what makes Python so interesting to you? Now that you had like more of a managerial role in Xoxzo, how often did you use it?
I still use it. Python, I still program in Python. Mostly now, I don't program things that is pushed to production. So it's kind of like just to express my ideas and see if this works or not. Proof of concept, if you will. So my background was in C, and then I moved to Python in around 2005. I think it was around Python 1.52. That was the first time I actually used Python mostly for operational purposes to run servers and stuff. I was working in Yahoo at that time, and then the way that we make changes on the website, on the Yahoo website, was very peculiar. So they wanted it to be so fast. So the HTML is actually hard-coded into the C code. And if you want to change the HTML page, you need to change the C code, recompile it, and put it as an Apache module. It was crazy. When you want to compare it to how we do stuff right now, but it worked at that time. So that was my background. And then I moved to Python to do the ops. It was easy to read, definitely, because of the indent rules. And I kind of like the philosophy of Python where they say there's only one way to do it. People write it basically in the same way. So it's easy to understand. And then I wasn't that hooked though until I went to my first PyCon conference, which was in PyCon APAC in Singapore. And I met the people who actually are there, and they were open to discussion and showing how they do stuff. I'm also close to the academic community. For example, my wife is a doctorate and she was doing postdoc and stuff. She went to conferences, and in academia, it is also common to work together, and it fits well with how I see the world should be as compared to when businesses, they actually try to outdo each other. It's a more of a competition instead of the conferences we're actually sharing and actually I don't mind telling you how I actually do this because we want all of us to actually improve. So that was the basis of it. And then I started to see what we can do to promote this in Japan. I met with some of the people who went to PyCon APEC in Singapore at that year. I think that was 2009 or 2010. I can't remember. And then we decided to start our own PyCon APEC here in Japan, and that turned into today. It's actually one of the biggest conference for Python in Japan. And I continued with setting up PyCon Malaysia, becoming the chair PyCon APEC in 2016 or 17. That opened up the path for me to contribute with the PSF. Now I'm part of the trademarks and the diversity committee working group in the PSF. So it's kind of like one thing led to another, and then I see where things people are not looking into, where can help be given more. So I try to do that as much as I can, but I don't put myself too hard into it if it's something which I can't do anymore, or I think I've not given enough contribution. But yeah, that's basically it.